Hello, welcome to the Reykjavík Grapevine's Newscast. My name is Valur Grettisson. I'm the editor-in-chief at the Reykjavík Grapevine. With me here is my chief of morale officers, Polly, daughter of a hot dog, or Polly Pulsudóttir as we call her. Just before we start, I want to remind you on our newsletter. You can find the link for it down there. We have a quiz. Helgi, our brilliant Helgi, which makes this quiz, has put together one quiz, and it will be sent to everyone tomorrow. So you're getting a sneak preview for this. And this is again the same as we did last time. And it's basically which one of these Icelandic words is not an old Viking name of these modern cities. Is it Hólmgarður, or Novgorod in Russia? Is it Kænugarður or Kyiv in Ukraine? Is it Mikligarður or Istanbul in Turkey? Or is it Tangarður, which is Moscow in Russia? So, if you know the answer, you can comment, of course, but if you want to win something, you have to sign up for our newsletter, and you will have you will be able to answer this question in the proper place, and Helgi will let you know if you won or not. But a lot of things in news. This has been an exciting week in some ways. So let's just get into it right now. There was a bit of an alarming operation yesterday where the SWAT in Iceland, Special Forces, if you will, we call it the Viking Squad or Vikingasveitin. These are the only guys, the police force in Iceland, that are allowed to have guns. We don't have guns in general, but this might be changing, and that's why this is alarming. Because they went for a very big operation yesterday, two places, one in Mosfellsbær, a town not far from here, and then Kópavogur, which is this town over there. And in these two towns, they arrested 4 people, and they said, and the first news about this was very odd, unclear, ominous, if you want. The chief of police, he was actually handling this case, and when the chief of police is handling something, it means that this could be everything from treason, like spies or invasion, literally, or down to like something that is very dangerous when it comes to the society in whole. Not only this, but the Ministry of Justice, Jón Gunnarsson, he also came out and he was asked what was happening, and he also spoke a bit ominous. It was unclear where he was going. He was not allowed to say anything, and he said he didn't know much about it. But he said that there were some changes in Iceland that was very alarming, and this kind of just freaked people out, to be honest. So today, actually, they had a new, there was a press meeting that was going to happen today. It hasn't happened yet, but we have a little bit clearer picture of what was happening here yesterday. So the Viking Squad, they went to these two places with weapons, and they arrested these 4 people, and it came out, it appears to have been that these men were actually 3D printing guns. I know this is perhaps not some new news in many countries, especially in the bigger countries, but in Iceland, this is pretty serious. First of all, we don't have guns. The underworld in Iceland, and underworld is a ridiculous name for the crime life in Iceland, but still it is. They have never had any guns, but we have been telling you, of course, in news past months and over this year that more gun crimes or gun-related crimes are happening. And perhaps we didn't tell you one story, which was a bit interesting, but not that alarming at the time, which was basically that in one of these shootings, one of these persons was said to have like a homemade gun. Nobody seems to have thought much about it, but it might be like connected to this, although I'm not sure about it. But this could be quite a change, basically, when it comes to actually crimes in Iceland, because I wouldn't say that criminals in Iceland were like peaceful people, far from it. But when compared to other cities, crime life in Iceland is relatively peaceful, and it's not often when you have like innocent bystanders being cut off between or something like that. For example, only if you go to basically to Denmark, you will find much harder violence, more guns, more shootings, and so on. It's a very different scenario. But in Iceland, luckily, we have been able somehow to keep guns away from the streets. And this is very important because, well, for obvious reason, right? So we're kind of still waiting for more information about this. But my first reaction here is kind of just, this could be the moment that a lot of things changed when it came to gun crimes in Iceland. And especially these 3D printers, they make things easier, although thankfully they're often not as dangerous as you could find, like, let's just say in the US, you can have like a machine gun or whatever. So it's going to be interesting to see this. We'll let you know when we know more and when we actually have this press meeting is over. You can find news, of course, at grapevine.is or, wow, what's this? Okay, this is brilliant. They actually have a golf course here, but what do you call it? Mini golf. Hvað segirðu, Polly? Yeah, don't piss on this. So, we're gonna go here. Next news. This is, I mean, this is not a huge news in Iceland, but this has been gaining quite some attraction and perhaps is also very connected to the international politics right now. There is an Icelandic man, his name is Konráð Magnússon. It doesn't really matter because nobody really knows who this man is. If you Google this man, you will find pictures of him with rifles, talking about guns. But unlike the criminals in Iceland, he actually has a permit for these guns because he works as like in pest control. Now, this man sent an email to all of the media, not to Reykjavík Grapevine, thankfully, where he actually was asking, he was like inviting the media to go to Ukraine, and the Russian government will pay all expensive, and they will go to the Donbass area, which is, of course, partially now still under control of the Russians, but partially also in Ukraine after incredible, actually, result in not that long time ago. Now, Icelandic media, they were writing about this themselves. They said this is so odd, and of course, Bjartmar, my good friend, he actually met this man. And he explained to him, of course, that he said this is it's a rule with Stundinn, for example, the investigative journalist magazine that he writes in, that they never accept any gifts from anyone, no matter if it's like something like this. And obviously, you should not do it in general. Where did the ball go? Polly, hvar boltinn? There it is. Polly. Þarna, já, hvernig? Should we go to the football field? Now, this guy, as hilarious as this is, he said in an interview that he had some connection with Russia. His ex-wife seemed to have been Russian. He can speak Russian and is obviously some kind of a fan for Putin and Putin's regime. And it seems like that he is convinced that the Western world is not getting the both sides of all of these cases of the war. Of course, Icelandic people are very well enlightened, in my opinion. They know exactly what's up. And we also know that there are a lot of people that have gone silly, literally, because of the Russian propaganda. So this means that, of course, all of the media said no to this. Even the sketchier media, they were like, no, I don't think this is a good idea. But also it's interesting because this trip was supposed to be like, they were going to invite people to go like in October, November, but they like hasted it. So they're going actually now on Thursday, yeah, today. This happened like 2 days ago when this invitation came. And the reason they are like, this is becoming so hasty is obviously because of the incredible trouble that Vladimir Putin is in right now. He is literally losing this war. There was a weird decision that he took yesterday, I think, where he was announcing that there would be, you'd be drafting into the army, and now we have protests. And I mean, this is just incredibly humiliating mess, of course, for the Russians in general. But when it comes to the protest, though, I actually admire that. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do actually in a fascist state like in Russia. So nobody knows why this man is somehow with like working for the government of Russia. He is just absolutely nobody, and it adds to the absurdism of all of this, and especially when it comes to Icelanders. For example, the diplomats in Iceland, Russian diplomats, are just, they have been literally like making fools out of themselves in the media in so many ways, and they will probably send us an email now because of this, but and that would not be any better for them. So yeah, and then to the EU. I mentioned this not that long ago. Where do you want to go, Polly? Here. So the EU, the European Union, is all of a sudden back on the table in Icelandic politics. Now, just to explain a little bit, very quickly, how these things are in Iceland. We were thinking about joining the EU in 2008 after the failing of the banks in Iceland. And understandably so. The krona, Icelandic krona, wasn't worth a dime. And we were very frustrated because of the banksters and so on. Now, this became like a very, there was a very successful campaign from the right in Iceland which hates the EU. And they were saying that the government should have asked the people before we went to negotiate. And this ended up being just a mess in general, resulting that basically we retracted the application, but it wasn't the Social Democrats that did so, but the government that was afterwards, which was like the Independence Party and the Progressive Party. Got it? So what happened here is basically that nobody's been talking about the EU since 2015 or 16, and there was even like a protest because of this. When they stopped, like pulled their application, people were saying this is not right, and there was quite impressive protest because of it. After that, not so much. But what happens now is that the EU is all of a sudden back on the table, and the Social Democrats, as well as a few other political parties, like the Reform Party and the Pirate Party, they want to let the people vote actually if they want to go back into these, what do you call it, application, ways of getting into the EU. But the Independence Party, of course, they are very much against it, and the reason that they are is there are two things basically. First of all, they feel like we are handing like a foreign association the sovereignty of our state, meaning that we will not have anything to say about anything. This is, of course, absolute nonsense, and they know it. But they use this because this is some kind of a talk that really works well in Iceland. The other reason is basically because of the fish. Icelanders, we rely heavily on fish, and we cannot lose that in any way. Although people have said, like the Democrats and so on, that we will still keep that fish, but I mean, nobody's really sure about that, are we? But it doesn't really matter, because when we do a deal, we would have to vote specifically about that deal in the end. So we might be starting something here, but then again, the parliament, the majority of the parliament, is not up for this. So, I mean, I think this is kind of a waste of time for the left bloc, like middle bloc, in the Icelandic politics, which are not in the ruling coalition. But it's definitely interesting that they are trying to refresh this, and perhaps this is just one way to see like how ununified like the participants are in politics right now. For example, the coalition is quite strong, but the one that are against them, they are not. They are a little bit weak, and they have been trying to find their own like a foothold in politics, and they're just not finding it, especially after the pandemic. So it's might be like a ploy, almost like a trick. But so it goes. And now a little bit more about the fish. We have fish kings and queens in Iceland. We literally call them that. This is the name that we use is quota kongar, and this means the quota kings. This is due to a system that we had in the 80s when the government kind of just gave a few people the right to fish in Iceland, and we have a quota, so we won't like hunt too much. And there are a few people that had the right to own this, and then some people have bought more and more and more and more. So the quota in Iceland, the fish, which I kind of own as well as other Icelanders, is being hunted and sold for billions every year. And these guys, they are like, these are perhaps within 100 or 200 people that own this. So this is the 1% of Iceland. Now, by far the biggest company is Samherji. Samherji is an interesting company, also very controversial, but that's kind of the name of the game also. But this company, not only that is controversial, but they got into the world news a few years ago because of a bribery scandal in Namibia. Namibia is, of course, in Africa, and this was basically, they were said to have bribed officials like the Ministry of Fish in Namibia and so on to get the quota there to hunt more and so on. I mean, it's an ugly game, and you know how it goes. But the thing is, the media actually exposed this, and the media was this was like RÚV, the national broadcast, as well as the Stundinn, the magazine that Bjartmar, my friend, works at, and then of course Kjarnan. Now, things took a really ugly turn not that long ago, when there was when Samherji, they call it literally, and they call it themselves the guerrilla department within Samherji. This guerrilla department was more or less trying to distract the discussion and hurting the media that was writing about this. Hey, check out the raven. The ravens, of course, are everywhere. And they love to tease Polly, by the way. It's pretty funny. Now, the guerrilla department, we know about this because, well, a phone was stolen from a captain working for the Samherji, and the information was leaked to the media, and they wrote about this, the exchange between these people, and so on. Samherji afterwards apologized for this. The Prime Minister, Katrín Jakobsdóttir, condemned this, and so on. This was a big political mess. Now, if you still follow me, it's a little bit long story, they often are. The most interesting thing here is now that afterwards, the captain actually pressed charges against a person that stole the phone and ultimately leaked the information. And the thing is that media in Iceland are more than free, not more, I mean it's a very delicate thing, but they are free to use information that they obtain by some dubious ways, no matter how they were obtained, as long as it has some public interest. It's very clear actually in Iceland. Now, not only that, they are now claiming that like the police, they have put them on they are now putting them as in position of a suspect in this case, which is basically about stealing a phone. But not only that, like the man that owned the phone, he has claimed that the person that stole the phone drugged him and so on. And this is like, he ended up at a hospital, and it was quite an ugly affair. Now, the police, the journalists are not accused of any of this. Yeah, there was also like on this phone, there were like pornographic material of this man, by the way. Not that nobody wants to know anything about it. The journalist said that they didn't even know about it until the police informed them about it. But the thing is that they were like they are suspects in this case. And the journalist, one of them in Kjarnan, he actually wrote a fantastic article written and published at Kjarnan, the homepage, yesterday, where he goes over this case because he has all the, he has obtained all of the police documents about it. And it's quite shocking to read this. First of all, it seems that the police is not operating in like a very natural way when it comes to the media. And not for the first time, by the way, when it comes to Iceland. The police, for some reason, have claimed that like they have, at least they have not set the record straight when it comes to that this man was drugged. But in these cases, there is absolutely nothing that shows that he was drugged at all. The woman, I think it's a woman, I'm not sure, but there was a person that stole the phone. The victim, this captain, says that he is mentally ill. Not that it matters at all in this case, but for some reason the police even asked this person if he would be ready to undergo a psychiatric evaluation for stealing a phone, which is like, I think everybody can agree that this is absolutely absurd. Basically, what he's trying to say here, the journalist, and he does so in a very good, this good article, is that the investigation is fueled by very odd ways, like odd mind. It's fueled by the interest of this captain and the interest of this company, Samherji, which is very like a serious accusation, to be honest. And this means, in his mind, that they are actually like misusing the police in Akureyri to actually hurt the Icelandic media. Now, it's obvious. Everybody sees what's happening here. This is far from being something natural. I don't think that, I mean, I've been writing about crimes. I've always telling you this for such a long time. And not once have I ever seen a suspect in stealing a phone being asked to undergo a psychiatric evaluation. All of this is so odd, and it's like, how far can this man go? And not only this captain's friends actually are investigators in this case. And although he says they are not close friends, but they know each other very well, and they are from this small town of Akureyri, a town of 15,000 people, and you can just imagine. So this is a huge concern, obviously. To go down here, yeah. This is a huge concern, and not only that, but the Minister of Finance in Iceland and the chairman of the Independence Party, he has actually twice commented about this investigation, which is highly unusual actually when it comes to politicians in Iceland and an ongoing police investigation. He said that he asked, are these journalists too fancy to go for an interview with the police? And he completely sidelined the element of that they were suspects, and with the status of a suspect, but not just being interviewed. Being interviewed is a very different thing when it comes to the police, but being a suspect is a very different thing. And the second time is basically after the editor-in-chief, this man at Kjarnan, wrote this article. He felt like he was attacking him somehow. This Bjarni Ben is his name. This minister of the Independence Party, and he was saying that basically, I don't even understand where he was coming from. He was saying that he wasn't really commenting about the investigation, just that this was the police was allowed to talk to the journalist, which was fundamentally not the point, like everybody realized. So it's very inconvenient for Bjarni, which is the chairman of the Independence Party, for the simple reason because he has been like accused again and again for being very protective when it comes to the fish industry in Iceland, unusually protective. And then, of course, people can have their opinions when it comes to that. However, they are. Got you there, Polly. On top of this, the financial minister criticized the journalists for protesting. And also, there is literally stated in the laws that the journalists are not to be prosecuted for a crime like this, which is interesting. It's like, as I explained at the beginning, of course, when you get this information, you have to hide your informant by law even. So it's a little bit complicated, but it's definitely interesting. So we're here at Fossvogur. As you can see, the school is out right now. Polly is very happy to be outside in this very fine autumn weather. I'm going to talk a little bit about this area, this Fossvogur. It's in middle of Reykjavík, like middle of Kópavogur and Reykjavík. It's an interesting area. I'm going to tell you about it in our way back extra stuff. So if you want to become a member, you can actually go and see it there. So, until next time. See you then. Hey. No. Hi.